Greetings, Captain. Welcome to Stowbutter's Elite TFO training for Guillotine. As usual, we'll start with objectives.
The first objective is to destroy the 10-dimensional conveyors in the Unicomplex. Second, deploy the 6 stitching anchors and defend them until they are fully shielded. The Borg can disable no more than 3 anchors during this stage, or the mission will fail. Next, destroy all Borg assimilators attempting to escape during this stage. If even one escapes, the mission fails. Lastly, once all anchors are deployed and shielded, defeat the 2 tactical cubes.
Thank you. On to risks and rewards. This TFO needs moderate to high coordination to play well on Elite, with all optionals and without dying. It is possible to complete in a public group, but a tank is usually needed for deathless completion, and it is difficult to coordinate stitching anchors. Enemy threat level is moderately high, as Mirror Borg will drain shields and deal a decent amount of damage, and there are many Borg ships. Since these are Mirror Borg, their spheres can also self-destruct with a 4-kilometer radius for significant damage. This TFO awards a moderate to high amount of Omega or Fleet Marks, along with a chance for subspace comm power pieces. Lastly, this operation is of moderate length, depending on how quickly your team can deploy and defend the stitching anchors. At around 8 minutes besides briefing for a coordinated high DPS team closing all the anchors simultaneously, or around 12 minutes for a team that takes the anchors in pieces. The adversaries on this operation are Mirror Borg. The most notable difference between Mirror Borg and Prime Universe Borg is that their spheres can self-destruct when low health. Just like their Prime Universe counterparts, Mirror Borg vessels have a powerful shield drain ability, so encounters with them need to account for low shield uptime. Significant enemy damage is expected. The key part of this operation is the second stage, as the first and third stages are straightforward. Once the stitching anchors are ready in the second stage, gauge your team's ability. Since there is no maximum timer on the stitching anchors or the overall TFO, your team can choose based on their ability if they can handle covering them all simultaneously, or if they need to take them in stages. High-end, coordinated teams can have 2 players float in the middle, sweeping enemies emerging from the Unicomplex, and defeating any assimilators to prevent them from escaping. One of these players should probably be a tank, since this will have the highest threat level, and ideally a DPS-oriented or heavy tank. That leaves 3 players to each defend 2 of the stitching anchors, which is very doable if you have high-end coordinated players. For example, ships capable of doing 500k or even 300k on ISC are probably fine. Ships with less damage will want to adopt a different tactic. For less capable or uncoordinated teams, we recommend that you only deploy 3 of the anchors at a time. This will slow down the TFO somewhat, by about 4 to 5 minutes, but reduces risk of failure, as 3 players can each cover a stitching anchor, while the other 2 focus on the middle and assimilators. Remember that none of the assimilators can be allowed to escape or the mission will fail. In this video, we will demonstrate the high-end coordinated tactic of deploying all 6 anchors at once. If you would like to see how we handle the map when we're only deploying 3 of them at a time, please see our Fire at Will video. Single target builds are moderately effective on this map, as enemy density is not as high on some other TFOs, and there are numerous high hit point targets. However, there are still plenty of enemies, so some AoE is helpful. In the opening stage, engage the Mirror Borg, focusing on the larger targets like the assimilators and the cube first, then moving on to the dimensional conveyors, which are marked with a red symbol. Quite typically, teams will clear all opposing enemies before the conveyors are destroyed, which leads to some waiting for new conveyors to respawn. In the second stage, spread out and cover the anchors. In this run, we chose to split the team to cover all anchors simultaneously, since we had 5 players above 300k coordinated on Discord. Due to high enemy damage, it's a good idea to eliminate Mirror Borg near the anchor first, then deploy it. Once deployed, I'll move back and forth between the anchors to keep them active. In this run, anchors 1 and 2. We kept our heavy tank in the middle to reduce the number of Borg vessels approaching the anchor. We were confident in that tank's damage, but if you were less confident, you could add a second player to the middle as well. At one point, I leave my position to engage the assimilator since we were concerned about having enough time to prevent its escape. Assimilators have to be prioritized since a single one escaping results in mission failure. As a single target build, this is an excellent role for you unless there's danger of the Borg disabling too many of the anchors. Only 3 can be allowed to be disabled. Once the anchors are deployed, you no longer need to watch them, which if your team is doing a partial deployment strategy, frees you up to deploy the next one. Simultaneous deployment strategies should have their anchors shield around the same time. In this case, Anchor 2 was a little slower to shield since I left it to engage the assimilator several times and the Borg reduced its progress while I was gone.
Observe. Something is disrupting the stitching network.
Once all the anchors are fully deployed, engage the tactical cubes. For best results, the team should focus on one at a time. Be careful of fleeing assimilators in this stage, as they can still cause the mission to fail. Once both tactical cubes are destroyed, the TFO ends.
The stitching network is now operational. Sealing the vortex cell.
Captain, if this breakdown helped you in your quest to play Stowe better, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel. The link to the specific build used for this tutorial is in the description. For more guides and builds, check us out at www.stobetter.com.